Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are trying out one of the new bits of hotness that has kind of spawned a deck that's making a few 5-0s and doing some waves in the old format right now, and that is Pest Control. So this is black-white for a sorcery, destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less, and it has cycling for when it's not useful. This card is fantastic. It can sweep up all the Urza Saga tokens, as well as what they've gone to fetch off the Saga. It just does a lot, as well as being able to kill, like, however many Delvers or Dragon's Rage Channelers your opponent can muster, or all the Mana Dorks. It's just a really, really good sweeper for the format. So people have been slotting into an Esper shell, so I thought I'd have a little go myself and see what we end up with here. So we've got a bunch of cantrips here. We're a blue deck, that makes sense. We've got a bunch of counter spells, so we've got Force of Negation and Daze, because our curve is actually pretty low here. So we get to play things like Daze. We've got some Spell Pierce for added counter spells, and we've also got a Drown in the Loch, which can flex between removal and counter spell. And then we've got a whole bunch of removal to go alongside our Pest Control. So we've got Plows and Endings. And then we've just got this small suite of threats to win the game with. So Murktide, Triumph of St. Katherine, and Bowmasters. It's all tucked into a neat little land package that has room for 4 Wastelands. So we are pretty low to the ground. We're only 1 more land than a traditional Delver deck. So we are looking to trade favourably with low-cost resources. You know, we're doing cantrips, we're doing 1 mana removal spells, 3 counter spells, and then just stick something big. So we're kind of a control deck, but we've got a curve that kind of feels more like a tempo deck, which is exactly what the Bug Beanstalk deck feels like sometimes. So we've taken some leaves out of their book, and this is very close to some of the lists that have been 5-0ing in the last couple of days. We've got 1 Mystic Sanctuary to buy back something good, and we got 3 Lorien Revealed as our sort of late game, try and draw some cards, gas back up against decks where we're trading 1 for 1 a lot. Obviously, Pest Control should hopefully trade better than 1 for 1. So that's the main deck. Relatively simple. We're going to be winning with Murktides or Triumphs. Our mana base does not support a basic swamp, which is interesting to note here. But our removal should be good enough. Like, we can use an ending via the island and the plains, and whatever our other land is. So if it's a mountain, for example, we can then get rid of something like a Blood Moon. So we should be cool for that. And the Lorien Revealed can always find our island if we're under some sort of Blood Moon effect too. Onto the sideboard, just a bunch of tools you'd expect really. Some more counter spells, some Doorkeeper Thrulls to help us against things like Doomsday or whatever. A bit of graveyard hate, a bit more graveyard hate, some more Pest Controls because why not? Card is great. Lavinia is just an excellent card in blue-white right now. You can really jam up a lot of combo decks with it. Some more removal, and a nice little way of destroying a whole bunch of permanents that can mess us up. So this is pretty good against Beanstalk decks because we can shred out all of their Beanstalks and all of their ley lines in one go. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out, and I don't think I need to talk any more about this one. It's kind of like Esper Control, Esper Tempo, whatever you want to call it. But we just got a bunch of good cards, and hopefully it's going to work nicely. Alright, remember to like and subscribe, and let's start Espering people. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? We are on the play for round 1. We've got the ability to do some brainstorming, we've got a little bit of removal, this seems fine. So we're probably going to lead off with this Flooded Strand so we can flex into the Swords to Plowshares if we need to. Or we can cycle the Lorien Revealed and get that going. Or we can just do nothing and save our fetch land for this Brainstorm next turn. An Urza Saga. Okay. Do I want to play on basics here? The problem with playing on basics is that we have this Murktide Regent that we're going to want to cast. So I'm going to crack this. I think we're just going to fetch a Tundra here. And I don't think I want to plow yet. We could cycle this, but we can use this as a shuffle effect soon. So I think we're just going to hold back. We're going to use this Wasteland on this Urza Saga. That's a relatively important part of us staying alive, is not getting Urza Saga out here. Because that card is pretty good. So you've got Plow up. We can also see cycle our Lorien Revealed. And get another Tundra. I don't believe our opponent's going to be playing any Blood Moon effects. Urza Saga, Flooded Strand. This looks like Cephalid Breakfast. Ponder. Definitely has all the hallmarks of a Cephalid Breakfast deck. So we're probably going to fire off this Brainstorm on the end step, and then we can shuffle with our Lorien Revealed in our upkeep. Some more Wastelands. I don't hate being a Wasteland gamer here. That makes our Daze also better too. I'm kind of happy to draw through these actually. Let's just do that. So our Daze is going to be pretty helpful when our opponent doesn't have any lands. We've got another Wasteland to follow up with as well. We've got the Surveil land on top. If we decide we don't want that, we can fire off this Lorien Revealed. I think I'm okay to just fire in this Surveil land. And then we can start working on this Murktide Regent in short order. Another Daze. Daze is very good considering our opponent is kind of hemmed in on mana. So I think I'm going to put this on top of my library. And then next turn we can Murktide Regent with Wasteland, double Daze back up. Right, our opponent's cracking their Misty Rainforest. There's a Tundra. Another Urza Saga. We will say no to Urza Sagas. I'm just going to play this. So I read 1, 2, 3, 4. We do need to fire off this Wasteland first. So we're going to go to our second main to burn this mana off. Right, we're going to see something here. A Doorkeeper Thrull. So our opponent's doing some kind of Dreadnought type shenanigans. So we're going to float some mana here. And I think we're going to Daze this. I think I want to pick up my white source rather than come into play tap land. Because if our opponent has Stifle, we don't want to get our Lorien Revealed stifled trying to get a white source later on if they can Wasteland this. Our opponent probably has Plows in their deck. We're going to see Force of Will here. We are. Exciting arrow. Do I like this exchange? To get a Murktide in? Sure. Let's just go full in on this Murktide. This is going to make our Murktide a lot bigger because there's going to be Daze in the graveyard to get rid of now. Have to imagine there's some amount of our opponent's deck that's not going to function underneath this Doorkeeper. Things like Phyrexian Dreadnoughts. Right, so let's cast this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the blue. So that exchange left us with a much bigger creature. And now I know our opponent isn't Cephalid Breakfast, I'm not scared of just immediately dying to something. They're going to have a creature in play, and then we're going to plow it. And hopefully we can just ride this Murktide, but our opponent definitely has access to things like plows in their deck. Alright, a Brainstorm to begin with. No follow-up land. Triumph of St. Katherine. I will not be able to miracle this one. We're going to go to attacks. Our opponent can't play a Doorkeeper Thrull and pop it this turn. And pop the Dreadnought. So we're just going to get a little bit of value off of our Surveil land here. I don't hate having access to a Force here. We can just sit behind that, protect our Murktide. We only need to crash for 2 more turns. So they don't kill our Murktide this turn. We get to untap with the Force of Will available. And I know what they're drawing because they Brainstormed last turn. So they might have an answer, but just not the additional land. Or they didn't want to play the additional land for some reason. Right, so do have a Plow. So now we're going to have to work through these cards till we can play our Triumph. So a Tundra here. We will cycle our Lorien Revealed if we get Wastelanded. But otherwise, we're going to try and keep it for this Force of Will. Right, our opponent had no plays. A Ponder. Big fan of casting Ponders. Another Murktide Regent. That's something we're going to want at some point. So we could Ponder right now, but I kind of want this Murktide Regent that's on top of our library. So I'm going to cast this Ponder next turn instead. So we get the Murktide Regent, then we can have a shuffle if we want to. Our opponent found another land. I'm not expecting Bowmasters from our opponent's deck either. Alright, let's cast a Ponder. So we can Brainstorm here and put the Triumph on top. Feels pretty good to me. So we want to make a land drop this turn. So we're going to cast this Brainstorm. So we've got another island on top. So we can go... What are we going to bury here? We bury this Scalding Tarn and then the Bowmasters. No, sorry, it's the Scalding Tarn and the Triumph because we want to draw the Triumph. Or is it the Bowmasters? Is the Bowmasters and the Triumph? Alright, then we can make another Murktide. So this will be a 6/6 again, so a 2-turn clock. If our opponent spends resources on this, like plows, it means there's no plows for our Triumph, which can keep coming back. We're going to see an end of turn Doorkeeper Thrull. That is something that I think is worth Force of Willing here, because this is like the thing that's going to let them play all the Dreadnoughts that are clearly stuck in their hand. So next time we can put in a second lethal threat now, because our opponent's lower on. Okay, I guess we don't get to do that. We just go up to 30, and then we Miracle a Triumph of St. Katherine. A Stifle. A very cheeky Stifle. So we can just hard cast this Triumph if we want to. So we're going to get another Tundra. Just jam our threat here. So all that did really was they paid a card to basically mana leak us when we had the mana to pay. A Doorkeeper Thrull. They got the Dreadnought to follow up. Yeah, so actually Mana Leak on us there is pretty good because we didn't get to try and kill the Doorkeeper Thrull in response. An Underground Sea. Let's try and plough this Dreadnought. Start swinging. We're going to leave this card in hand for the purposes of Brainstorm. And also make our opponent think we've got something. Our curve doesn't go beyond 5 for Hardcast Triumph. I guess we could Hardcast a Murktide. Alright, another Dreadnought is not ideal, but we do have a lot of life. So we can take hits and trade. And that's probably okay. We've got Prismatic Endings in our deck, which are very good. Do we have another Surveil land? We do not, but we do have a Mystic Sanctuary. So I think we're going to do this and pass. Then we get that Mystic Sanctuary. They can attack us for 12. I don't even know if they win that race. So what is it? They attack us for 13. 3 hits. And we are 4 hits at the moment. So that would win in the game. If they just turn sideways and we have nothing. But we are going to try and plough this Dreadnought. Just a Dreadnought. Interesting. Will not be blocking here. Mystic Sanctuary. This is also a matchup where Pest Control is pretty good because it cleans out all of the Dreadnoughts. No Stifle for this ability. Good. We'll attack first and then we'll plough. Oh, we're not blocking this Dreadnought anyway. Are we worried about something like a Force of Negation here? I think we're better off ploughing this than our opponent's upkeep. So at least their mana is spent on their turn, so that they won't have mana up on our turn. Daze is not something we have to worry about here. But our opponent is on 23, so it's going to be a bit of an uphill struggle. But if we can get rid of this Doorkeeper Thrull, then we don't have to worry about Dreadnoughts for a little while. Pest Control. A little too late on that one, but that means we don't have to worry about follow-up Dreadnoughts. I am a little bit worried about Uro. That can't come into play just yet, though. But it is something that concerns me. 6/6 is certainly bigger than 5/5, and that's kind of the breakpoints we're working at here. A Ponder. A Dreadnought. Well, we've got an answer for that one. Just get rid of that pesky Phyrexian Dreadnought over there. Let's crash for 5. I will play this one out so that we can shuffle after a Brainstorm. This also represents High-Cast Force of Will, which is something our opponent's going to have to think about. Because why would we play out a 5th land? Probably because we have Force of Will in hand. Not that we do, but if our opponent thinks we do, that's good for us. Brainstorm, have a little pause, carry on. Worthwhile use of 4 seconds of our clock, maybe. We are definitely a deck that can prey on Phyrexian Dreadnought decks, for sure. The Thrull's not blocking, so it's attacking. It makes sense. A Murktide Regent. Alright, we'll attack with our Triumph. So this can get them a Dreadnought in a few turns, but hopefully that won't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just make a Murktide. Oh, it's not actually going to get bigger, is it? Because of the Doorkeeper Thrull. But it's still a 3/3 flyer. So we have lethal next turn, so they might have to chump block with an Urza Saga token. Okay, we got the Force of Will there. That's not actually so bad because it was only going to be a 3/3 because it's not going to get the... Oh wait, no, this is enters the battlefield, right? Yeah, okay, no, it would still get the things on it. Because this is... this card is if and when, whereas this says as. Or it just says it enters with it, so... Dress Down works, but Doorkeeper Thrull doesn't on the old Murktide. Right, so we can crash for 5. And then we'll put our opponent low. They're just going to block with a chump token here, aren't they? We have an answer. We could use this answer on their Doorkeeper Thrull. Or we could save it for the Dreadnought. How many Dreadnoughts have we got rid of? 2? Is there one in the graveyard? There is 3. So they have 1 Dreadnought left. So I think we're just ending the Dreadnought. So they're just going to chump block here. Although if we end the Thrull, that kind of stops Uro, but they can cast Uro anyway. I'd rather they waste their Saga getting a Dreadnought that we then get to just end. And maybe they're hoping to block with it. So it changes their combat mass, so maybe they attack with this. I think they're going to make a token though. Seems like they're on relatively low resources over there. Okay, so they got a 1/1. Now they're going to get a Dreadnought, which turns their construct into a 2/2. Pest Control obviously looks great on this board. If we have a Daze, we can then Daze our own spells. So we get 2 goes at Prismatic Ending. Oh, wowzers, trousers. Right, let's end in the Dreadnought. That's all of their Dreadnoughts gone. So we could ending this, but I don't think that's worth it. I'd rather save this for something like an Uro. We can just keep grinding through with our rather large Triumph of St. Katherine. Because if we get rid of the Doorkeeper Thrull, they can just play Uro and then play it again. So I'd rather just keep the ending so we have a permanent answer for Uro so it can't come back. Because that's basically the only win condition left in their deck now. A Ponder. Sure. They could play the Uro here. They shuffled their library. Did they get an Uro? Or are they going to have to chump with their Doorkeeper Thrull? Feels like we're in Chump Town. Again, we could exile this, but I don't think it's worth it. Like, they've only got the Euros now. To attack with our Triumph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can play around a Spell Pierce if our opponent's running them. Let's just draw 3 cards. Alright, we're in a very strong position now, as you can probably imagine. Do I want this in play? No, I think we can still hold it for Brainstorm. So we can Daze, picking up our own Mystic Sanctuary, so that we can rebuy an Ending or a Plow. We've just kind of got our opponent in a bit of a bind. They would like to Plow our guy. That's kind of annoying, because we do need ways to win the game. Alright. Let's say no to that one. Now we have creatures covered. What else are we counterspelling here, right? Alright, let's try and exile this for the win. A Dress Down. This is going to let them draw a card, so maybe it gives them a way of stopping that spell, or having a removal spell for our creature. Alright, we got the game there. This feels like the exact sort of thing we want to queue into, really. So, got some things I like. I don't really want to bring in our Doorkeeper Thrull. That helps our opponent out a little bit much. But Prismatic Ending and Pest Control both look exceptional here. Snuff Out, pretty reasonable too. I don't think we need these tools. Surgical Extraction to deal with Uro is a possibility, but we have so much exile removal that I don't think that we necessarily need that. I think Daze definitely gets worse here, and Spell Pierces don't look great either. Like, what's Spell Pierce going to do? It's going to stop, like, a Stifle, or maybe, like, a counterspell somewhere down the line. Like, at least Daze can pick up some of our own things, but I don't hate the Force of Wills here. We could go really hard and play these Serenities, just as more answers for Dreadnoughts, if that's what we're really worried about. And maybe that looks better than having these. I think that's reasonable. We're very much the control in this matchup. We have so many ways of answering a Dreadnought, which is the problem with Dreadnought decks, is that some decks don't care the fact that it's a 12-12, they just answer it just as easily as any other creature. Alright, so we have a land into Cycling Lorien Revealed. We ought to be careful to do that around our opponent's potential Stifle, because we definitely need to make this land drop. But I will keep this. We have ways of hitting their cantrips, we have ways of killing their Dreadnought. We have two ways of killing their Dreadnought, in fact. There's a Tundra from our opponent, and a Ponder. Okay, so we're safe to Lorien Revealed on our turn, which we will do, play around our opponent's Stifle. They shuffle their library off that Ponder. Brainstorm. I think it's just, what we're looking for here is a land, so we're just going to Island Cycle now around their Stifle. Go and get ourselves a Tundra. I don't really want to play on basics here. Our opponent didn't show us Wastelands. They're a 3-colour deck with 4 Eyes of Saga. I don't think they can support a lot of Wastelands, if any. Now we get to untap, and we can play the Bowmaster game. Everyone loves the Bowmaster game. We didn't show them the Bowmasters, but they must assume we have it. A Doorkeeper Thrull. Is this a thing I actually care about? That's an interesting question. Like, it does make their whole deck kind of tick. I think we're just best off saying no to this. And I believe Lorien Revealed is the pitch here. If they fight over this, then our Drown in the Loch becomes live. And so you can maybe, like, if they fight over this and then untap, try and play a Dreadnought, we can then Drown in the Loch their Doorkeeper Thrull first. Alright, no, just letting it go. Yeah, I'm down to clown with the old Bowmaster here. I was trying to keep myself with some options, but if our opponent's going to present it, then alright. They get their Ponder. They shuffle their library with the Ponder. Flooded Strand, sure. I would like to be able to move some cards around. I'd also like to make a land drop. I think white is the more important mana here, so I'm going to fire off this Brainstorm like this. Okay, I don't think we want this Serenity. And then we have a choice here. Do you want another Force of Will? I don't think we need Force of Will. We have these tools available to us. Then we're just going to put this Force of Will back. I don't really want to get caught by a Stifle here is the problem. But I do want to make my land drop. That's a toughie. I think we have to play around a Stifle here. It's going to be an end step. Okay, is this worth... Is this the point where we cycle this? I think so. Because if they have the Stifle, they're at least going to sacrifice a fetch. But by me waiting for the opportune moment does tell our opponent that we kind of needed that land. And also they saw us miss a land. Right, so we're a little bit shields down, but we can just pick up the pieces afterwards. We've got plenty of Reveal that doesn't care about the size of their creature, really. Obviously, it cares about the mana cost, but their creatures are going to be costing 1 if we're worried about them, for the most part. They do have the Euro as well, but they won't be able to put that into play this coming turn. Alright, so they're cracking the fetch. So the reason I did the Brainstorm, the cycle then, is I assumed our opponent, if they have a Stifle, they're going to keep it up. And at least that way, if they do have the Stifle, then it's the opportunity cost of not having a great Brainstorm is there. And I can live with that. Another Serenity. Are we just brainstorming to move some cards around? Or are we just holding up a bunch of stuff to play around Daze? And then we just hold some stuff up, and then we can brainstorm our opponent's end step. We can hold up this Drown the Loch, or we can brainstorm for some more action. A Dress Down. Okay. So the plan here is to just clean some stuff up afterwards, I think is just better here. An Urza Saga. Yep, that's a pretty good one. A Dreadnought. Okay, I think that's fine. We can just shoot this in a second. I don't think we have time to do Serenity because we will die to this. Destroy target creature. This one, please. Black and blue. Goodbye, Phyrexian Dreadnought. Playing around Daze. So we could just play the Serenity and try and clean both of these up. That is not without its risks, though, because we have to take 12, so we go down to 7. It is quite strong, though, as a play. All right, I like it. I like it enough. If this gets counterspelled, we can always ending this. Yeah, all right, there we go. All around Daze. So now we have to beat these sagas. Eventually, we're going to have some sort of win condition, and we'll be laughing. We can also get a Mystic Sanctuary and bring back something like a Prismatic Ending here. Or Drowning the Loch is quite universally good at this stage of the game. Like, look at the amount of cards in our opponent's graveyard. We can counter anything, or we can kill anything in our opponent's deck at this point. So it's probably going to be the Drown the Loch, but we don't necessarily want that right now. We're more about getting our own threat online, I think. Another Saga. Okay. Pest Control is looking good if we can find it. So we can Surveil here. I think that's worth doing. A Mystic Sanctuary. I don't really want to get rid of that because that's another removal spell we need it. So that's not really what I wanted to see there. But that's what Brainstorm's for at the end of the day. Right, let's get a Brainstorm going. Looking for threats. We're looking for Pest Control. This is all pretty good, isn't it? So we want the Katherine next turn. So this goes on top. We probably don't want the Mystic Sanctuary just there. Or is it the Brainstorm we don't want just yet? We'll put the Brainstorm back with the Triumph from St. Katherine on top. It should be the Mystic Sanctuary. We can always Brainstorm for the card we want. So, and then the Triumph. And then we'll deploy a Murktide around Daze. What are we not going to want? Lorien Revealed is nice. We have 2 of them, so we can definitely get rid of that. We already have another Prismatic Ending, so we don't need that one. The Brainstorms can go here. And then, what do you want for the last card? It's probably Force of Will. Drown the Loch does similar things here. But only costs us 1 card. So let's just get a big Murktide in. Alright. An 8-8. That's going to clock our opponent in 3 turns. We are a little bit behind on clock ourselves in terms of that metric, but I believe that we are favoured to win this game from this point. And imagine if we find a Pest Control after they spent all this time and mana making all these constructs. We have 3 of them in the deck at this point. So if they've drawn a land, they can just make construct, and they've actually got some reasonable threats here. But Triumph of St. Katherine has a lot to say about that. Okay, so there is a 2-2. And then they're going to go and shoot for something. They might have something like a Soulguide Lantern here, but firing that off is a bit awkward. Okay, they have a Shadow Spear. Pest Control looking even better. Let's miracle this. It's a miracle. I think I want to ending this Shadow Spear. Just get rid of that what we can. Some nice flying damage going. Alright. We know we've got the Mystic Sanctuary on top of our library. So we can play that and then immediately Brainstorm into what we've put on top. If we need to remove something desperately. Right, so these are going to be possibly 5/5s. I don't know if they've got another artifact they can find. But we'll find out. They could also trade 3 of these in for a Dreadnought. Because you can just play a Dreadnought and sack stuff. Okay, they have a Soulguide Lantern. So the Mystic Sanctuary not looking quite so hot anymore. Right, so that's going to pump our Murktide Regent. If they can't remove the Regent here, we can just play the Mystic Sanctuary, and if they try to remove anything, they die from our graveyard, because this will be a 10-10. We're not blocking these. Oh, they do have a Plow here. We can't Daze this. Okay, that's kind of annoying. Okay, so now we are a little bit behind. So let's try and Brainstorm into Pest Control. None of these are Pest Control. I don't think we want this Mystic Sanctuary anymore. I think that time is gone. So they go away. I guess we attack here. Is that right? If we attack, we go up to 17. And they can hit us for 4, 8, 12. So that should be fine. Yeah, so we attack here. If they block, we plow one of the other ones, and we take 2 of them out and gain 5. They've only got 1 card in hand, so... Alright, a very good exchange for us there. We clear out 2 of their creatures and gain 5. We want to play this land out because we don't want the cards on top of our library. If our opponent cracks a Solgar Lantern, we can go and get our Mystic Sanctuary, but I don't believe they're going to do that, which does open us up to drawing a Murktide Regent that we can just cast, because they're holding up this Solgar Lantern for something like a Mystic Sanctuary, I would imagine. Alright, they can bash us for 6, or they can hold these back to double block. Alright, they're going for attacking for 6, so they'll be doing us 1 per turn cycle, whereas we'll be doing them 5. Obviously things can certainly change. They're going to draw a card. That is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. We could play this Serenity out and just nail both of their guys. Or we could just get a Brainstorm. I'll crack this now. This is before they draw a card, so they're less likely to have Stifle. Mystic Sanctuary. I will take this. We can't get Serenity back, because it's the wrong card type. I think we just want this Drown in the Loch. Because we can ride this Triumph of St. Katherine to the bank here. We've got 1 counter spell / removal spell, so we've got a very versatile piece of interaction. Our opponent is certainly not winning this race. We're going up to 15 here. They're going down to 10. If they attack us, they effectively just put us down to 14 after we attack. We can counter a spell or removal spell. The amount of time we have on the clock means we do have to win this game. They're just jabbing for 2. We have so many good draws in our deck. That's not really one of them, but what can you do? Just send in the Triumph. I'm just getting a chump here. That does gain us 5 life. They're just trying to tread water until something shakes loose for them. They have more time on the clock, so this is a perfectly acceptable play as well. So this is probably chump blocking this turn. I'm okay with that. That's not what this counter spell removal spell is for. My opponent's thinking our upkeep. Is this something like a dress down? No. Right, we have 2 removal spells covered now. I don't think it's worth removing this creature. Whilst we have our big beat stick in play, we may as well enjoy it. A dress down. This cantrips. And I can let them get some cards out of their hand. We do still have another removal spell lined up. We can attack here. I don't think I play out this Serenity. It does mean an end step Doorkeeper Thrull isn't very exciting for them, but we can always just plow the Doorkeeper Thrull in response to their Dreadnoughts. Right, I didn't have it anyway. A dress down. Well, this one resolves. How many Dreadnoughts are they going to play? A Brainstorm. Okay. So they're playing this first. They have more cards to work with on their Brainstorm. They've got 5 life over there. So this could be a chump blocking Doorkeeper Thrull, which I'm fine with. Swords to Plowshares. We don't actually have an answer to that. That's annoying. We need to find a win condition. Right, our opponent's cracking their fetch land. Is this going to be... I'll play this one out and we'll pass. We don't have anything apart from this plow. We need to find a win condition in 5 minutes. That's a win condition. A Doorkeeper Thrull. Sure. We can plow this in response to the Dreadnought. If that doesn't work, we have enough life to Serenity and do some stuff. Right, let's put this Bowmasters in. This seems pretty good. The first ping will go on them, then the other pings will go on the Doorkeeper, just in case they answer this. Because all these pings will go on at the same time. Oh yeah, we don't get the first ping, do we? So these will all go on here. We don't get the first ping because of the Doorkeeper Thrull. We do get these pings. And we can just swing with our big token for the win next turn. This is a relatively conservative line given their life total, but I think it's the correct one. Now they could stifle one of these triggers. That would be pretty good. So maybe they're all supposed to go on the Thrull to play around Stifle. Ah, here we go. Yep, we could have played around that. We can just attack with our 2/2. This Wasteland is actually good. It takes our opponent off his second green, which could be pretty relevant. Do they have to block here? Maybe. Right, our opponent does not want to block there. Let's place Wasteland. Take out one of their green sources to make Uro more difficult. A fair Uro at least. We'll pass. Maybe this was a turn to jam the Serenity just to say no if they have anything else. Sure, they can plow our Bowmasters. That turns on some of their other cards. If we plow this Doorkeeper Thrull, it will still leave them at a live total that our Orcish army can kill. A Ponder. We are a bit tight on time, but we've closed the gap between our opponent. They were like 4 minutes ahead, I think, at one point. Let's attack with our Orc army here. I'm happy for them to chump block here. We've still got 4 minutes. That's loads of time to deal 1 point of damage. Another Doorkeeper Thrull. Cast a Brainstorm. Couple of plows. Serenity I'm not really interested in right now, but right, we'll just put these two back. Right, so this resolves. They'll double block here. We'll plow one of them. They'll be left with nothing. Do we get the plow out? We have another plow. Force of Negation, sure. I will fire off this other plow. We do need to win the game. One card left in our opponent's hand. We've got Spell Pierce covered. A source to Plowshares on our guy. Right, so let's say no to Uro. Then we'll crack this. We might as well crack it now, just so we don't want it to get stifled. We do want these cards off of the top of our deck. Alright, so we use F6 through this next turn. We don't have anything. 3 minutes to find a win condition. Yep, they're coming in for 1. Look at that, a win condition. Again, we don't need to file to Serenity yet. Our opponent would have to play a lot. Oh, they've got their own Triumph of St. Katherine. Okay, maybe we're going to time out here. Pest Control. That's not the one here, is it? We could cycle this right now. I think that's worth doing. We could find a removal spell to allow us to attack here. We did not find a removal spell to allow us to attack. Alright. If we get the trade, do we take it? Because we're the first one to draw a card, so we're statistically more likely to find our Triumph? I don't think so. We have more removal in our deck than our opponent does. Narset, that's a very good card in this situation. Our opponent's got a minute and a half up on us, which is going to be hard to grind away from our opponent. A Dress Down. Oh, this is pretty good. Do we have the time to win the game with it, though? Attacking our opponent's face here. If they don't activate their Narset first, they're at risk of sending their Triumph away when they activate their Narset if we block. Yep, so they're activating it first here. A Force of Will. Okay. No, I think we just, if we take it here, we might be able to remove this Doorkeeper Thrull. It's going to be hard to remove it through what they've got going on, but they're going to have to double block. They're going to have to block one of their things, sorry. Alright, so this incentivizes us to play the Serenity. We don't have a lot of time, though. Alright, we're not incentivized to do that anymore. Let's smash this out. Let's go to attacks. The Doorkeeper Thrull has to go under the bus. Attack all creatures, our opponent. F6. Now they have to hold back on blocks for their Triumph. They can dress down, so neither of them get... Okay, they're just firing off the dress down now. Sure. 2 minutes left. Our opponent's getting closer and closer to us. Okay, so there's the Dreadnought. They attack with the Triumph here. They do not. We know they've got this Force. Do they have a blue card to go with it, is the next question. We could have dazed our own spell here, but with our opponent only having 1 mana up, I think it's worth trying out the Daze. Because the reason we do that is so that we could do the Undercity Sewers. And our opponent's thinking about this one for quite a long time. I don't think they've got that much time to do this. We're now about 15 seconds. Alright, so we just let that go. We're not attacking here. F6 into our opponent's turn as well. Which is awkward with this Daze in our hand, but I don't think we can afford to. I guess we can hover the yield button just in case. We'll let this Brainstorm go. We're now ahead in the clock race, which is why I think this game is actually going to come down to. We're not blocking here. They could stifle our Serenity trigger. We did stifle it. It goes off next turn though. Let's go attacks. Oh, we can have 6 through this turn. Let's have to trade. We're also gaining a load of life this turn, which means our life total is going to be very difficult for our opponent to win with less time on their clock than us. We're now over 30 seconds ahead of our opponent. Would you like to have your Dreadnought die? Another Stifle, sure. Playing this old chestnut, are we? Pest Control, let's cast this. White, black. They could Force of Will here. We'll put them to 1. Sure. We'll F6, we're not attacking. Will the third upkeep trigger for the Serenity be good enough? Alright, I think we win that game on both clock and in terms of what our deck is actually doing. So it was a hard fought one. We took some conservative lines, but in the end it left us in a position where we could win the game. Whew. Let's hope all of our leagues don't go this down to the wire. That was a long one. Alright, Let's go to round 2. We're on the play for round 2. What does our hand accomplish here? It's relying a little bit on this Brainstorm to do some work for us. But we can cycle a Pest Control as well. I think we'll keep this. The question is, are we playing out... I think we are playing out the Tundra because we have the Daze, which is an important piece of interaction we might want to leverage. And we can Brainstorm in response to a Wasteland if we feel the need. Which I think we probably will feel, won't we? Okay, our opponent's mulligan to 6. The lower they go, the better our Force of Will, Daze, Brainstorm hand looks. Pest Control also great against some of these combo decks. Nice selection of mana rocks they have. If they have to pass a turn, we can sweep up all of their like LEDs and petals and stuff. Pest Control is very good. Alright, so let's play a Tundra and pass the turn. We're going to try and be a little bit more attentive to our clock. A Wasteland. I would like to Brainstorm, I think. This does tip our hand a little bit, but if they want to fight over this Brainstorm... Ugh. Yikes a Rooney. Well, I guess this Daze isn't doing anything anytime soon, and neither... I guess the Murktide's at least a blue card. Okay, that's gone poorly for us, I would say. Alright, there's a Wasteland of our own. We're probably going to be cycling some Pest Controls. Depending on what lands our opponent plays, we might be incentivized to cycle them before our opponent has access to Orcish Bowmasters mana. A Wasteland. They're going to Wasteland our Wasteland. Alright. One of those games. Play another Wasteland. Over to your opponent. So next turn, we start drawing cards that we don't know, right? So maybe we'll find a blue source. A Savannah. A Green Sun Zenith. That's fine. They're just going to get a Dryad Arbor. Pest Control doesn't kill it because it specifically states non-land. Well, there are ways off of casting and Pest Control, that's for sure. I think we're better off trying to counterspell some spookier things. Alright, we found a land we wanted. I don't think we're wastelanding this. I wouldn't fault someone who did, but I don't think that's where we're at. It looks like our opponent is on some kind of Maverick style list. It could just be green-white depth though. In which case we can try and use our Wasteland to force our opponent's combo out so that we can then Pest Control it in a way they can't defend using Sejiri Step. If that's a line of play that comes up later. Basic Plains. An Elvish Reclaimer. Is this what I'm Force of Willing? Or do I believe in our ability to draw the Pest Control? The land for Pest Control? Possibly. Green Sun Zenith where X equals 1. Sure. I've kind of gone a little bit all in on this Pest Control. Which is maybe a little sketch. We're going to cycle one and hope to find another. Another Reclaimer. Let's crack this. I think we want white because that's our general removal colour. Let's cycle this. Try and hit that land. Maybe I'm getting super greedy here. And we should have just used our forces and dazes to fight. Okay, didn't find a land. And we didn't find the land here either. So we've kind of screwed ourselves there. Yeah, we've really jammed ourselves up here. And that's entirely my fault. We can make a large Murktide. Well, it's not even that large, it's just a 5/5. Yeah, we got too greedy last turn, and now we're going to pay the price. Thespian Stage. As expected, our opponent is on that sort of thing. So it looks like green-white depths rather than Maverick. A Spell Pierce, you say? Alright. I think we're about to die to our own hubris here. Yeah, we could have just forced this and dazed this and not be facing down in 2020. Right, so they're going to get rid of this Dryad Arbor. They can't combo us right now. They might get a Wasteland here, so they can Wasteland our Wasteland next turn. If you got another land in hand, that makes sense. Well, they've gone for the Dark Depths straight up. Okay. You don't sound like a Spirit Guide? No. Yavimaya. So we can delay them a turn with our Wasteland here. A Tundra, that's not the source we wanted, is it? Oh, we should play that on Murktide, actually. Thinking about it. I'm just playing... After I punted this one by not Force of Will in their guys, I'm just not with it. Let's just sacrificing something with Elvish Reclaimer. Is this just going to be for a Wasteland? It is. Right, what is this going to be? Our opponent's given us an interesting opportunity here. An Urza's Saga, that's pretty good too. But we lose our ability to interact with their Dark Depths if we Wasteland. Because we want them to make their token in a way that we can answer it with a sorcery speed spell. I think what's actually going to happen here is we're just going to lose because we played horribly. And we deserve to lose. Right, so we will nail this There's no basics in play. We just nail the Saga, and they'll make a 20/20. We're going to cycle it away. That's interesting. I guess they're living in fear of our Pest Control. We're just getting another one so they can play around our sorcery speed spell. Yikes. Echoing Deeps. That can become another Wasteland. Could become another Thespian Stage if that's what they're up to, but I think the Wasteland makes slightly more sense, depending on the numbers of cards of like depths and stage in their deck. Yep, so they agree with us. Okay. More things. Oh no, not more things. Like a library or something. We don't want to cycle this. We kind of need this. We've got plows in our deck too. Ponder. Hallelujah. Please ponder. So we can shuffle, and that draws us, and we get to look at one mystery card. We take this ponder and cast it. We get to look at 2 mystery cards. So I think it's worth taking the ponder here, because we're looking for just one specific thing, which is black mana. Because we get to see the card underneath those 2 cards, and then we get to see a fresh one. Alright, any order shuffle. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I think our opponent has us beat here. And they have done for some time. Yeah, that was an unfortunate one. Pest Control seems good here. Prismatic Ending seems good. Snuff Out killing some of their annoying guys also seems fine. I feel like they're green-white depths. So Surgical Extraction and Nihil Spellbomb are options we can play. So what in our deck is actually good here? Pest Control is good, Drown the Loch good. Spell Pierce is pretty weak. We can get rid of those. Daze is fine, but gets outclassed very easily. I think we're better off just with removal spells. So we can have this, have a little bit of graveyard hate, and sort of eschew some copies of Daze. I think that's reasonable here. I'm less into the surgical. I like the spell bombs because they cantrip. We could just play 1 Daze, try and keep our opponent honest. But usually they're pretty good at playing around Dazes with like fast mana like Moxes and stuff. We could play Force of Negation, but they do have creatures we want to deal with as well. Alright. Sure. We can start off with Undercity Sewers. We have 2 Wastelands to mess with their combo. We've also got ways of answering some creatures. Let's play this game not terribly like we did last time. Do you want this on top of our library? Not really. Goodbye, Triumph. We don't want you yet. Once upon a time. What are they going for here? Reclaimer, pretty good card. We can pending this if they play it. Alright, this is going down the old Wasteland you in the heart plan. It's a tried and tested plan. I do think we need to fetch a non-basic here as well when the time comes. I think we're going to see their Elvish Reclaimer this turn. A Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. Interesting. Not what I was expecting. We already had our Surveil land, so we didn't have a Surveil land to go fetch there. Let's take them off of Savannah mana. Like, we have more things to deal with Dryad Arbor down the line if we want to. Maybe that's an aggressive use of our Wasteland, considering our opponent's combo. Right, there's the Reclaimer that we saw come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we plow this end step, we can just make a Murktide. Now our opponent probably has a plow looking at it here. I think it's worth just using our resources in the best way possible. So let's grab ourselves a Tundra. Let's pending this for white. Let's try and take them off green mana. Again, this might be aggressive, but the fact that they decided to get Dryad Arbor instead of playing their Elvish Reclaimer kind of gave me the impression that they didn't want to... Alright. Kind of gave me the impression that they didn't want to have their lands removed. So we could play this Mystic Sanctuary tapped. I think that's fine. If our opponent spends their turn wastelanding and doing nothing else, that's fine. We still have another blue source in hand. But we've seen 2 wastelands from them. And 2 wastelands for us, so it's fair. Tit for tat. Alright, they've got a stage over there. Orcish Bowmasters. Would I rather play an Orcish Bowmasters or a Brainstorm? Or would I rather just jam this Murktide that's not going to be that big? I think we'll save our options till our opponent's turn so we can Brainstorm or Bowmasters, depending on what our opponent does. Be a bit reactive. If our opponent does nothing, we'll put in this Bowmasters. We do need to win the game at some point. They're not going to have that many things that Bowmasters actually deals with either. Our opponent does seem to be missing green mana. Bowmasters is not great against our opponent's deck. fine. Okay, let's brainstorm. Alright, we got some lands. You're telling me there's lands. I think we can put back one of these Lorien Revealeds. And probably one plow. Let's go attacks. We have to decide if we want a Murktide now. I think it's probably worth doing it while our opponent's sort of down and out a little bit. Like, we could cycle this to make a slightly bigger Murktide. How big it will be? It'd be 5. I think 5 is big enough. It's our opponent's turn to have a non-game. Right, they did have the plow. Do you want to draw the card that's on top of our library? Not particularly. There's another plow though, which is pretty reasonable. With Lorien Revealed under it. No, we're going to cycle this now. Let's kick out the Tundra. We do have to be a little bit concerned with choke. But we don't really have any way of playing around choke, so. Pest Control. Big fan of having that in our hand. Now we just have to see if we can go all the way with these little orcs. Choke is definitely a concern for us, but we can draw one of our Prismatic Endings. And hopefully we don't have to fire off any of our other spells if they do find the choke. Or the land for choke. They're convoking this. Sorry, they're evoking, not convoking. That's a different. Alright, they're living in fear of us having another Murktide. Interesting. And what do they pitch to that one? A Reclaimer. Sorry, not a Reclaimer, a Safekeeper. Right, so they found green mana. Don't choke me. Because of choke, I am going to plow this. Am I? No, I don't think. That's a tough call there. Right, the land certainly helps. Let's go white and black. This will remove our carving token is a downside here. But having 2 instant speed answers to Marit Lage down the line could be make or break, given our opponent's only 1 card away from having that go. That allows us to beat this Ajiri step. A little crop rotation. There's a Dark Depths. We don't have an exciting land to get. Both of our exciting lands have already come and gone. Nihil Spellbomb, you say? I'll play a Nihil Spellbomb. Let's go attacks. I'm going to make a 2020. They shouldn't, because it feels like we're trying to bait them into playing a Prismatic Ending on their creature. But we're actually baiting them into a source to Plowshares. So we fight now while they have less resources. This means if they have a Legacy's Quick Reflexes here, we can then try again in the upkeep. They have to have 2 of them. A crop rotation. A Ajiri step. And then we will plow this. So, keeping a second plow has worked out exactly as I wanted it to. We can cycle this Nihil Spellbomb at some point as well. Right, a Once Upon a Time from our opponent. A Thespian Stage. So they're getting towards the combo. I think I would rather cycle this than hold it up for a Life of the Land that may never be coming. A Pest Control. Not unhelpful. Brainstorm though, that's a good one. Alright, let's see if we can shake loose a big win condition. Murktide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we can ponder and Murktide if we want to. Are we putting the Pest Control back to do that? I think so. Do I want that Pest Control? I think I'd rather have something like a plow, so we're going to crack this one first. We don't have any more Tundras, so this... Oh, no, we do have another Tundra. The only black stuff we have is Snuff Out, and we could get the Undercity Sewers here. Actually, we do have a fun land. I thought we already got rid of that one. Maybe that was a previous game. Whoops. We could have got this earlier. Alright, we'll get the Sewers. This can make our Murktide even bigger. Let's ponder. Do I want these cards? Like, Brainstorm is good, but then I have to go through these 2 other cards. I think we're going to go any order and shuffle. There we go. That's a bit better. So, blue. Let's get rid of some. Because we want to leave one... We might want to leave one... No, we've already used our Mystic Sanctuary, I guess. So we're just going to make the largest Murktide we can. Our opponent's life total is huge, so let's try and deal with that. We've only got a minute ahead of our opponent clockwise. I always proclaim we've got this covered. An excellent draw. Actually, no, they removed their graveyards. It's not actually an excellent draw, is it? It's a blank draw, in fact. Whoops. Okay. I think we were right to cantrip off of that. Nihil Spellbomb, though. But it only takes like a fetch land, all of a sudden we can counter crop rots and little guys. A Ramanap Excavator. Alright, pretty glad we got rid of their lands earlier. Alright, we'll attack our opponent for 8 in the sky. opponent has one card in hand. This isn't where I'm fighting anyway. I assume it's a land they have, yeah. Bajuka box, sure. Oof, you sure you want to play that? That's going to pump our creature by 1. It doesn't matter though, because they'll be dead next turn anyway. It doesn't change the clock, so it's fine. Right, Ponder. Let's cast this first. Pest Control, Bowmasters, Bowmasters. The Pest Control is interesting because our opponent probably has to make a Sorcery Speed Barret Lage next turn and we can just answer that. So I don't hate that. And the Bowmasters are reasonable damage. We should have put them the other way around. Actually, no, we can put the Pest Control in the middle. And then draw the Bowmasters. Yeah, that makes sense. Little Bowmasters sandwich. So if they can find... Okay, so they're going to turn this... Oh, into a Tundra. Okay, they want an additional white source. I guess there's no green source they can have, and white is a colour in their deck. They could have gone for the Sejiri step if they preferred. Alright, scooping it up there. That feels more like what we want to be doing in this matchup. How do I feel about everything we got going on for us? Yeah, I like everything. We've seen the round out Excavator, so they're less about Life from the Loam type stuff. But I still think we want our Graveyard Hate for the same reasons. So we're just going to go back in again. We're just a deck full of removal and then some big O's to finish the game off with. So I am rather happy with how our deck looks for this one. Island Pond to keep, even though our opponent is a Wasteland heavy deck. We have some really important answers like the Plow here. So I think I will keep this. Right, it's our opponent's turn. What are they doing on their first turn? Is it going to be a Reclaimer? Or are we looking at some sort of like Green Sun Zenith? Alright, we're going big. We're going into Mox Diamond territory. Okay, but nothing to follow it up with. Interesting. So, are we getting a Tundra, which is an important removal colour for us? I think we are. We haven't seen any black mana from our opponent. I don't believe our opponent has Bowmasters in their deck. Alright, Force of Will is not an unhappy one to have here. More land, also good. Wasteland, also good. Right, so we'll put the Tundra, then the Wasteland, I think, and then the Force. So we've got a spare Brainstorm I'm more than happy to pitch. We're going to see... I don't know, we're not going to see anything there. Interesting. There's a Wasteland. We're playing this game? We are playing this game. Okay. So we got this Wasteland. We know the top card of our library is a Tundra that we want, but I think we are still playing this Undercity Sewers out. We'll leave it on top. Put on top of your library. Right, we've got a counter spell and a removal spell if they're going for like Ramanap, try and Wasteland you in the heart. They just got more and more Wastelands, then sure. Flagstone's pretty good. And nothing over there. I don't want to expose our removal colour to a Wasteland just yet. So I'm not going to play out the Tundra yet. I'm just going to play out this Wasteland. That does mean that we don't have access to Drown in the Loch is the only issue there. Alright, I think we are supposed to play out the Tundra actually. We've got some Brainstorms that we can leverage. We're going to see a Dryad Arbor off this fetch land. No, just a Savannah. We're going to see something like an Endurance here. We are. I would like to... Like, Plow is our premium removal spell because it deals with Merit Lage. Once upon a time. Okay. I'm pretty happy with our opponents spending their turn just on casting like a green impulse. There's a lot of room for us to breathe still. Right, they found a Dark Depths and now they're wastelanding our Undercity Sewers. That is not the one that I would wasteland if I were them. I think they want to take us off of white mana. I think I want this Scalding Tarn because I don't really want this Bowmaster in our hand. I'd like to move some cards around given the opportunity. And this way we have two sources that cast Plow available to us. Right, there's a Dark Depths. 2 cards left in our opponent's hand. Brainstorm. We can Force of Will a Crop Rot. We'll say no to this. Okay, so we have a Triumph next turn if we want it, which I think we probably do. What don't we want here? We establish we don't want the Bowmasters, which means then putting Big Cat on top. That gives us double Force of Will for their Crop Rot. I think that's acceptable. We also have the Wasteland too. Yeah, sure, we'll do that. We're going to get ourselves another Tundra. We don't want to be wasted off of white mana in this game. We will put this into play. We'll play this Wasteland. And we've got double Force of Will, a nice threat in play, and a Plow if they do somehow manage to squeeze through their creature. Our opponent's got 3 cards in hand. I like our odds. Maze of Ith. Okay, that's an annoying one. I think it is right to wasteland this as well. We need to get this game won. 1 hit from this means that we can take a hit and it turns on all our sorcery speed removal, like Pest Control and Pending. 2 cards in hand, we can Force of Will both of them. Swords to Plowshares. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. Alright. What are we doing now? I think I think I'm okay to play out this Spellbomb. A Path to Exile. Are we counterspelling this? I think we're better off just looking for another threat. Yes, we do have basics in our deck, so I will take... I think it's an island at this point. We don't want to get caught by a choke. Snuff Out that we can't cast. Okay, I think we are firing off this Brainstorm now. Our opponent's got no card in hand. Another Plow is fine. Bowmasters, not really doing it for us here. An awkward situation. 2 cards we can't cast. Right, I will play out this Plains though. Alright. This isn't going to be quite as elementary as I had hoped. I think if our opponent finds what they're looking for, like the Thespian stage, they will just go for it. So we can reduce their lands in play a fair chunk. Alright, this is the old slow boat to Depths Town. The best way of summoning a Thespian stage to the top of your deck is to start slow removing counters. That's my experience anyway. Just when you're about to remove the last one, you will draw the Thespian stage. That's how it always works. I get to remove 2 counters a turn. The old 30 mana 2020. Claim is good. We have to plow this, I think. Otherwise I get multiple attempts. But we can do it on our turn. If we had a black source, we could have snuffed them out. But we played around some wastelands there. Sure. 6 counters. Keep going, opponent. A Lorien Revealed. We are so close to having this online as a draw 3. It's also a blue card for Force of Will, so I think it's better to keep in our hand than it is to cycle. Our clocks are very similar as well. So I think now we're incentivized to cycle this to go and get a black source here. We've also got ourselves a win condition that I believe is worth just slamming right in here. 1. We want to keep the plow if we can. And we can. Alright. 8/8. We can try and cantrip to find a blue card if we need to. Our opponent's going to be removing some more counters. We're going to have to get through a big amount of our opponent's life total. A green sun zenith where X equals 1. So that's going to be an Elvish Reclaimer. I think we will do this now. See if we can cantrip into a blue card. We did not cantrip into a blue card. Oh, it's a Sylvan Safekeeper. That's a very different kettle of fish, isn't it? So our opponent doesn't have the mana to activate this Depths twice. Yes, I'll have another creature. Cast this. Miracle. And then we're just going to wasteland this Depths. Our opponent has no card in hand. All that mana they put into that for nothing. They might as well sack it to the Safekeeper to give it Shroud. Yeah. Opponent agrees. So now I need to find 2 cards to get there. But they are dead on their next turn. So we should have this one in the bag. We're working hard for our wins today, but we're putting them on the board. Alright, we won the match. It was a hard-fought battle, but we did get there. Game 1, we just played badly. We got too cocky trying to just get the Pest Control blowout because we're trying to showcase the new card and being a little bit too greedy. So there's a lesson there for everyone. But I think this matchup is the sort of thing we want to play against quite often anyway. Alright, let's go to round 3. Alright, we're into round 3. Island Ponder Keep, I've heard that's a pretty good thing. But seriously though, this hand here, it's got a little bit of counterplay, it's got a little bit of removal, and it's got a threat to work towards. This seems like the sort of thing we want. So we can just start off with a Flooded Strand instead, and we can go and get our Surveil land. And then we'll know what we're pondering towards. Like, are we looking for a counterspell in this matchup? Are we looking for more removal? We just don't really know yet. So we get a little bit more information from our opponent here. A Plateau. A Goblin Welder. Okay, that's certainly some useful information right there. So we're going to get our Surveil land now. Our opponent is on Red-White Painter, most likely. Daze on this particular board is okay. Do we want to just put this in the graveyard for Murktide, though? No, I think we'll keep this. So now we're just going to draw this Daze, Prismatic Ending this, hold up Spell Pierce. Maybe our opponent will be so kind as to throw a Fable of the Mirror Breaker into our Spell Pierce. Obviously, they don't know we have it, but that's the sort of card that I would very much like to Spell Pierce. An Urza's Saga. Yep, that could be a problem down the line, but we can look for a Wasteland. And we also have Pest Control doing some work. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Nothing fair has ever happened from this card. I think I want more mana to work with, so I'm not going to Daze here. I'm just going to Spell Pierce. That could come back to bite us later, potentially. But I want to have more mana to work with this turn. Okay, so let's ponder. Orcish Bowmasters, Force of Will. The Bowmasters might be able to ping down the first construct. So I think we're going Tundra, Bowmasters, Force, and we draw the Force. We are, unfortunately, just shy of being able to put this Murktide into play. If they don't play an artifact, we can ping down the first construct with a Bowmasters next turn. An Arab Mesa. They're just fetching a Mox Opal. Okay, so we won't be able to ping down their Bowmasters now. That is annoying, but acceptable. So what is the plan now? Do we just jam this Murktide? I believe so. We've got 2 counter spells to back it up, which is pretty good. It should be a 3-turn clock with our Bowmasters. We're going to see a Pyroblast here. They're just making a Saga token. That doesn't give them Metalcraft, so they can't then Pyroblast in the same turn, but they can obviously Pyroblast in our turn. Oh, sorry, in their turn. Alright, we're going to see a Grindstone, or we're going to see Shadow Spear. We're going to see Go Faster Boots, Lava Spur Booties. Alright, so they're tapping mana, so we could be seeing something like a Painter's Servant here. Okay, Painter's Servant. I would very much like to not deal with this. They Pyroblast us here. Okay, they didn't Pyroblast us, that's good. A Goblin Engineer. They can pay for a day, so I think we just let this one happen. And hopefully we can dig into some... No, we've got a Tundra on top of our library, haven't we? Alright, I think we're just dead, right? Because next turn they can activate Grindstone, flip it into Painter, kill us. And that doesn't strike me as the thing I want to happen, but I don't really think we have any choice either. There's that Tundra I didn't really want. Maybe we were supposed to send that one back. But the Force of Will obviously came in very handy, so I don't think we were wrong to keep it. It's just a bit unfortunate our opponent had multiple things going on. Draw a card for some reason, opponent. Maybe we don't get to win this one if our opponent plays correctly. We've also got 2 more cards in hand, so could be anything. Could be some Pyroblasts. Could be another Painter. I assume they're going to grind us in the upkeep. Getting the Soul Cauldron back. Interesting. So they're just going to do the Devourer combo instead. Sure. They had us dead in 2 different ways. Fair play to you, opponent. So this is a matchup where all their Pyroblasts are going to be pretty good against our Force of Wills. We're not going to really want those as a big thing we're doing. Nihil Spellbomb is pretty good. Pest Control, pretty good. These pretty good. Hydroblast, good. Pending, good. We're just getting rid of counter spells, boarding in removal. There is a question over Doorkeeper Thrull, but I don't think we have the slots. I think Serenity is better than Spell Pierce in this matchup. We're just packing a whole bunch of removal. I don't think we want to mess around with anything else. Orcish Bowmasters isn't the greatest, but if it kills a Goblin Welder, it's ridiculously clutch. So I think it's worth keeping, and we're just going to submit being the... We're just going to kill all your things, and we have 1 counter spell in our deck. And you're going to live in... Well, actually, we've got Hydroblast. They're pretty good counter spells. Okay, we got some removal here. We got Wasteland for a Saga, which is really important. And we'll keep this. We don't have to worry about getting Wasteland in this matchup either. Blood Moon is something we might get stung by at some point, but I don't think that's really what I'm worried about. We're kind of incentivized to get the Surveil land with this hand because we've got a Snuff Out we want to use, and we've got Drown in the Loch for later on as well. And the extra selection is always nice. But we'll see if we have to fire off a Hydroblast or not. If it's something like a Welder, we can just snuff it out. So I think we are just going to go and fetch the Undercity Sewers. Pest Control. We've kind of been burned by keeping non-lands in situations where we actually need more lands. Right, I'm going to put it into the graveyard. I might tell our opponent that we're looking for lands. We can play out our Wasteland, and we can hold up the Lorien Revealed. We can also do a Brainstorm and then cycle at end step. You've got some decent options available to us. We just need to blow up all of their things every turn, and then play a massive creature. Do we want to Wasteland this before they get mana out of it? I believe we do. It's a pretty solid tempo play there. It's not often you get to Wasteland before they get to use it. Sure, I think this is fine, and we can snuff this one out. So I think we Brainstorm at end step, and then we can shuffle with the Lorien Revealed if we want to. Okay, a bunch more lands and some removal. Happy to see basically all of these. I'm not even sure if I want to shuffle with Lorien Revealed now. Just put a couple of cards back on top. Brainstorm fetch land here. Or is it Lorien Revealed fetch land? I think that. Or Lorien Revealed land. Doesn't really matter which land we're about to draw anyway. And this goes and gets us a Tundra. We don't need to immediately kill this, because our opponent doesn't have access to any artifacts yet. We'll shuffle now, get a Tundra, and pass. So we've got Hydroblast, Plow, Brainstorm, Drown the Loch, Snuff Out. We can do all sorts of good things here. We just need to find a way to actually win the game. There is a Lotus Petal. Sure. There's a Moxo Pool. Again, I think that's fine. It's when anything is going to put a... Okay, so going to Goblin Engineer now. Like, we're always going to be answering this Goblin Engineer, aren't we? I think we snuff this out. Do you want to swap your Mox for your Lotus Petal? They do. Interesting. Alright, let's Drown the Loch this Goblin Engineer. Alright. So now we're looking to Brainstorm into someone like a Murktide. That's not a Murktide. Alright, let's Brainstorm. Like, we've got removal for absolute days here. Let's put them back like this, play out this Underground Sea, and pass. Eventually, we'll find a way of winning the game. We can use our Mystic Sanctuary to get back our Brainstorm to try and find that way to win the game, if that's the thing we're interested in. Another Lotus Petal, sure. If you want one-shot mana for your cards, that really favours us trying to go one-for-one removaling with stuff. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This is about the best Pyroblast target, Hydroblast target you can ask for. That's a 3-for-1 as well. That's absolutely savage. Okay, do I want to draw a Brainstorm or do we just want this Hydroblast that's on top? I think we just want the Hydroblast that's on top, so I should have stacked them the other way, and that's my bad. Alright. We don't have a Hydroblast now, but our opponent is unlikely to play another one of those. Unless they draw like a Soul Land. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Okay. We can take rid of that. I think I want to play the Serenity here. It's kind of a bit of a clunky answer. Right, they're just going after cards in our graveyard. That's fine. Do you want this Brainstorm? I think I would like a Brainstorm now. Alright, so we've got Hydroblast, Plow, and Pending. And the Serenity is about to blow up our opponent's Soul Cauldron. Sure, you can take a Hydroblast. Alright, let's try and find a win condition. Try and put this game to bed. It's a long old league, this one, I think. A Pyroblast. We are not happy to see that, but our hand is good. We're not, you know, we're looking for a threat. We're not looking for things to stop us losing the game. We have that covered, and we'll eventually win the game with something else. Soul Cauldron, we can Pending this. Right, goodbye Pest Control. Ponder. I think we're just going to snap this Pending off. I'm still going to fire off this Ponder, I think. I don't like the way I tap my mana here. We should have left up the white mana. Brainstorm, Brainstorm, Pending. I suppose this is fine. I'll wait till next turn, draw some more cards. Yeah, we still got our Hydroblast up. We could have had our Hydroblast or our Plow up. It's a Fable. A Painter's Servant. Right, that's plowable. We can plow that in our next turn. They might name black to dodge Snuff Out. They name white. That's very interesting. That means our opponent might have something like Solitude in their deck. Or they want us to think they have Solitude in their deck. Is this what we want a Pending? I think so. We only have one white source, actually. So Pending here is kind of annoying. We still get to give up a Hydroblast, though. They also can't Pyroblast this. Alright, our opponent's got one card in hand. We can cast a Brainstorm next turn. Another Painter. Sure. Our opponent doesn't have the resources to combo us out right now. Don't have the mana for it, but we can then use this Brainstorm and work out what we want to do. Okay, Brainstorm. Okay, I don't really want this Bowmasters, and I don't really want this Surgical, but we're probably going to have to draw it anyway. And I'd rather have a Bowmasters in hand to kill a Welder. We already have the Hydroblast. I guess we can Brainstorm into what we need anyway. So we'll put these two on top in this order. We'll make sure that we can kill their creature first. Right, then it's time for Big Daddy Mercs. Right, we've got an 8-8. Which is a 3-turn clock. Our opponent does have Pyroblast, so this isn't necessarily the most resilient or reliable threat that we can deploy. But it sure does win the game quickly. This is a Fable. Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Okay. So this clock's for 4. 4, 8, 12, so we do beat that. We can also chump it for a turn if we need to. Alright, we're just going to go in with our Murktide. If this dies, we can also Surge Extract it. That's the thing we're really intent on doing. But I'm quite happy just to ping this and chump block it to save some life. This is definitely coming in. Ping them for 1. Block away. Next time we're drawing Surgical, and then we can Brainstorm with a more or less dead card in our hand. Try and turn it into something better. A Welder. We can Hydroblast this on our turn, so it's not really urgent to take it out just yet. We can see more information and work out what is best. If we can find another Murktide, we can just win the game. It's not another Murktide. I don't want this Surgical, and I don't think we want this Wasteland now. I'd rather have more gas coming our way. Alright, pretty annoyed about using this Bowmasters like I did, but... So we have a choice here. We probably want to kill this Welder. Hydroblast is great against Fable. We don't care about Fable. Hydroblast does stop Pyroblast, which is one of the things we actually worry about here. So I think we're going to Swords this. And then if our opponent has a Pyroblast, we can just Hydroblast that and make sure our Murktide can crack for lethal. Alright, our opponent scooped it up. Whew, okay. I think how we've sideboarded is A-okay, so we're just going to run straight back in again. Yeah, this has some good cards in it. I'm going to keep this. Pest Control, maybe we get to do some cool stuff with it. Although the mana cost on it is a little bit restrictive in terms of where we're at right now. Right, nothing from our opponent. Okay, pretty happy to see that island. I think we lead out with this so we can go and get the... Oh, I suppose we have to get a white sorcery, don't we? I was thinking about getting the Surveil land, but I think that's just asking for trouble. A Painter, okay. And then blue. So Pyroblast is live. I think we have to answer the Painter rather than hit the Saga. But that's not the easiest call. We could Brainstorm first. That means we can't answer Painter with a Prismatic Ending, but we could find something else if we feel we need to do that. I want to take out this Saga, so I'm going to get the Tundra and Brainstorm here. We got Plows. I don't think we need... Like, this Pest Control and Bowmasters don't do anything. We don't have a way to shuffle either, which is awkward. Okay. We will take out this Saga. Our opponent has to come up with 4 mana to combo next turn. 4 mana total, that is. Which is certainly doable, but I'm willing to take the chance when we can just untap and fire some removal at our opponent's creature. Alright, there's one of the manas. Soul Land is good enough here. Soul Land, Grindstone, Gas. A little attack for 1. Okay, I think we play this Mystic Sanctuary as a tap land and get out of the way. And I think we have to try and plow this Painter. We'd rather do it in our opponent's turn so we can force their mana a little bit. If it doesn't work. I don't want to Pyroblast this today. I want to plow their Painter. Got another Pyroblast? They do. Okay. I don't need to tell you this is bad. We've certainly been caught out by this Mystic Sanctuary being a land in our hand a few times. Alright. I guess we play Big Daddy Mercs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very Pyroblastable. The other option there is to cycle a Pest Control. Alright, do you have another land as well and the Grindstone? Just a Fable, okay. Fable's a good card. A Brainstorm. I do like casting Brainstorms. Let's cast that. Okay, so we've got our white source. We still can't cast these though, so these go away. So we have 2 choices here. We can just Prismatic Ending this and just say no to them just comboing us off. I think that's the safest thing to do here. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, we're in there. Like, Serenity can clean up Fable and any leftover treasure tokens. The Pest Control isn't going to be cast because we don't have any black mana. But, okay, 2 Mages of the Moon gone. Elegant Parlor. Sure. We do need to watch out for that little Magus. Now, we might just be able to beat it by the nature of having a 5/5 flyer in play. But if they do play a Magus this turn off with treasure, we're kind of spinning our wheels for a bit because we know we've got 2 absolute blanks on top of our library. Now, we can draw through one of those by cycling the Pest Control, which is something that I very much need to do. But if we get to untap, then we can obviously float mana and then plow a Magus or whatever. A Painter. Okay. Again, I think we have to plow this Painter rather than trying to get this Serenity value. Let's attack here. We can cycle this Pest Control. Like, we have the Serenity to cover all their little things anyway. Although Pest Control does remove the Shaman token. But we do need to get rid of this Reflection, I think. So the mana value of this is the same as the front side. That was a change they made a little while back. There's no point wastelanding our opponent here. This wasteland is to nail, and there's a saga. What fresh hell is this? A Phyrexian Devourer. Okay. A Pending. We don't get to do anything very exciting with it. We can cast this. And I think we have to hold back the Murktide on blocks here. Because they can attack with a Devourer and another Devourer. And that's quite a lot of damage. They can pump them until they get to like 6. And then plus the other guy, that's lethal. Am I playing around Lightning Bolt? Why would they still have Lightning Bolt in their deck? They're just attacking with these two. So if they pump these, they can deal us 12 damage maximum. No. Yeah, 12 damage maximum. Because if their power is 7 or greater, they sacrifice it. So the most they can do here is still quite a lot. But I don't think we're winning this game if we lose our Murktide. But holding back the Murktide stopped the Shaman attacking us. Alright, so they've milled a Brave Apprentice. How high they want to go here? Ancient Tomb. Engineer. So they probably stop at 6. Because if they go any higher, they just lose. Alright. This is somewhat tense. Oh, they went to 7. Excellent news for us. We only take 6 this turn. That was a real lifesaver. Literally, it saved us life. We can take our opponent off of white mana now, but we can do that in our turn anyway. Alright, so Serenity triggers. Let's blow up their things. Actually, we can't take our opponent off white mana here, can we? But we can... Pending away this guy. They don't have the Dragon Engine here. So we're just going to swing. I think we do want the Tundra in play. Alright. A Black Source gives us lethal next turn off of the Bowmasters. Fable. Sure. Black Source, please. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. A Brainstorm. I will take that, looking for a Black Source. We found a Black Source. We actually found 2 Black Sources. We only get to play 1 of them right now. Does it matter where we put these cards? Not especially. Right, let's go to attacks first and see what happens. Do we get the damage in? If they have a Pyroblast here, then we need to save this Bowmasters. Alright, they did not, so now we just Bowmastered them for the final point. Whoa, we are working hard today. But we got another round, so we are currently 3-0, but we are sweating every game a little bit. Lots of back and forth, but the deck plays beautifully. I really enjoy playing it, but it's a lot of work. Alright, let's go to round 4 now. Alright, we're into round 4 now. Our opening hand can counter a lot of spells, but it's not going to cast any actual meaningful spells here. Well, counter spells can be meaningful, you know what I mean. We've got no lands, that's mulligan. We've got a Brainstorm, we've got a little bit of defense here. I think this is acceptable. We can keep this and chuck back the Triumph. We could just set up the Triumph here. That's certainly an option available to us using our Brainstorm. Let's send back a Wasteland and try that out. Maybe that's greedy, but we're on the draw, so we're going to have a couple more draw steps before we have to really worry about things like that. Ancient Tomb. Alright. We're one of those sorts of gamers. This means that we can more readily pitch our Murktide Regent. I don't think we're hitting the mocks because we've got things like Pest Control in our deck, so we can hit that later more easily. We want to hit the thing that comes out of it, like a Fable or a Blood Moon. Yeah, that's something that we don't want to see. Alright, if we draw a land, I think we're Wastelanding. Okay. Do we need to Wasteland now? Or do you want to try and get our spells out? Interesting. And then we're just going to play this Tundra out. So the Brainstorm here is something that we'd be casting next turn to set up the Triumph, so we need to draw another blue card. We have their next big scary play covered here. What is it going to be? A Rabblemaster. That is a big scary play, but it is beatable for us. Removal is something our deck is pretty flush with. And if we don't counterspell this, we at least get to Brainstorm and do some stuff. But we might end up just getting punked by this. I don't want to be in a repeat of what happened against the Green-White Lands player in the first game. So do I think our opponent has more mana sources? Do I want to try and cut them off them? Or do I want to get Surveil Land and try and do some work here? So we could Wasteland them off of Ancient Tomb to try and keep them off of 3 mana. But I think we just need to get our own game plan going a little bit here. So let's try and get a Surveil Land. We can also go and get a basic land if we think our opponent's going to be Blood Mooning us. Goblin Bombardiers. Yeah, that's a pretty good card. Are they going to throw this Chrome Mox for 2 damage is the real question here. If they do, then we can try and Wasteland them off of red sources. They did not want to do that. Okay, let's crack this. I think we have to get the Undercity Sewers here. We need the selection. Orcish Bowmasters. That's an interesting one. That forces their hand a little bit with some action. Okay. I'm not in love with it, but it's fine. We can force our opponent to make some horrible choices here. So if we take out this Den of the Bugbear now, then we can Bowmasters, and they have to sacrifice their only red source if they want to stop their Bombardiers from dying. Right, another Ancient Tomb. Yes, this puts our opponent in a bit of a bind here. So the first trigger is their face, because we have to double block this because of Menace. Otherwise it's just a wasted point there. What would you rather have, opponent? Your Chrome Mox or your Broadside Bombardiers? That is the choice you are now having to make. Alright, they would rather have the Broadside. So we can start poking a little bit. It's not a lot of damage, but it's something. An Unlicensed Hearse. Okay, that's a thing that they can throw. And it's also a thing that can grow and they can crew. So that's pretty strong. Yeah, we're taking those for Murktide reasons. Triumph? No. Well, we're not blocking, so we're attacking. I think our opponent's going to have us. But we've got some good sideboard for this. Alright. So these Ancient Tombs are pretty relevant for our opponent's life total. But if they get worried, they can always fling the hearse at our creature. Yeah, you keep doing your hearse and stuff. They're doing it in those timings to stop us playing anything with Delve. And Orcish Bowmasters, you say. Interesting. If we attack here, it kind of telegraphs what we're doing a little bit. But we can force our opponent to sacrifice this hearse. The other option there was to try and race, but I don't think that race works out well for us. A Chrome Mox. This is just going to be flung at our creature. Oh no, they're imprinting something. Yikes. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I think we've lost this one now. I think it's going to be very hard to come back from here. We'll ping our opponent for 1. Now, we are getting their life total down, but I don't think it's getting down enough. They can also activate their hearse with their shaman, so they can whenever they need. So what are they going to throw at our creatures? They're throwing the Chrome Mox. Sure. So now we take 2 again. We're actually ahead in life total, but very far behind in the game. Oh, this is exactly the sort of thing that we needed. So if we attack here, they just crew the hearse and block it, so that's no good. So they're going to eat some stuff with the hearse at end step, and they can send in a big hearse, and then force us to make some awkward blocks, potentially. Alright, they got some looting going. They discarded a Summon Spirit Guide. Their Ancient Tombs are very nearly off, but they've got a Shaman token giving them some treasure, and they've got a pretty strong board. But if we can maybe draw, I don't know, a removal spell, like a Source to Plowshares, we can do some work here, or a Pending to hit this Unlicensed Hearse is also pretty good. Chalice of the Void where X was 1. Alright, so now we're going to draw the Source of Plowshares because it doesn't do anything. Understood. But attacking is an awkward one for our opponent here. Are they going to send in the big hearse? They are. They're crewing up the hearse. What are they attacking with here? Okay, so attack with both of these. If we block, if we double block the Bowmaster, the Broadside Bombardiers, we gain 5 here. And that puts us up to 14. And then we can take 6. This is creature or artifact, right? It's another creature artifact. So this will be 2. So the most they can throw us is 4. So this is 4 plus 6 is 10 damage. And we'll go above that. So we go to blocks here. They can't sacrifice their own Bowmasters, because the Broadside Bombardiers. So if we block like this, we take 6, we go to 3, but we gain 5, and then we take 4. And then we just kill on the crackback, because our opponent's got no cards in hand. Combat maths. I think I've done it correctly. I don't think we should have won this game. Unless I've missed something here and we're about to lose. Okay, so they're going to kill our Triumph instead. This is going to put in the top 7 cards of our library. So one of the top 7 draws of our deck is pretty much GG's. And we've got loads of life now. We can attack with our Orc Army here. Play this. Tapping, our opponent tapping their Ancient Tomb is pretty scary. And we know we've got an absolute haymaker coming soon. Plow, is that what I need to cast right now? I don't think it actually is. I guess we see if they... Oh, we don't want to cast it because they've got a Chalice. Of course we don't. Alright, let's see if they want to save some life. Okay, so this makes Orcish Bowmasters lethal as well. Next turn they're going to have to start chump blocking. Alright, a Fury. Alright, they can copy this. That's pretty good. And they can bash us for a bunch. Alright, we're We're having a real game of this one, which I didn't think was going to happen. So we take 6, 7, 8 here, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they have us dead next turn. So it'd be a great time to find that Triumph of St. Katherine that's in the top cards of our library. A Ponder. We don't get to cast a Ponder. We do have a Force, but we are dead on board, unless our opponent makes a mistake. Oh, so close. I thought we had this one earlier, and we didn't, because our opponent found the line, and then they drew the Fury, which is pretty awkward for us. Yep. Oh, that was so tight. That was a good game, though. Okay, so what do I want in this sort of matchup? Pest Control is okay-ish. Hydroblast, obviously excellent. Serenity, reasonable. Pending, pretty reasonable. Force of Negations, pretty reasonable. Snuff Out, pretty reasonable. Lavinia, kind of good here. Kind of makes their soul lands look really bad. But we only get to play a certain amount of things, so we need to work out what is actually the good cards that we're playing here. So, Spell Pierce, I don't think we want. We don't want more things to get trapped underneath a Chalice. Daze, I'm not big into Daze. It might be a necessity, though. We'll have to work that one out. So if we were to get rid of the Dazes, so our opponent has loads of fast mana. That only leaves us needing 4 things. How good is the Pest Control is another question. It does sweep up all the Chalices and stuff and unlocks that for us, as well as taking out their mana. So I do think Pest Control is good here. Drown the Loch is removal. We want removal spells. Orcish Bowmasters isn't great, but we kind of need to have some creatures so we can like peck away and do some stuff. Serenity, I think we got Pest Control is better than Serenity a lot of the time. Is that true, actually? Serenity is easier to cast. And Pest Control hits tokens. Serenity hits Fable. Maybe it's the Serenity. That's an interesting call. We have lots of removal for creatures, so I don't think that's where we're fighting on that front. And we do want the Forces. Maybe we can trim a Ponder here. It's just one less 1-drop to get caught up in our hands. Alright, we're going to try sideboard out this. Okay, so we have the first Force, but we don't have more lands or anything like that. So I think we have to mulligan this one. This one is acceptable. I will keep this. What are we getting rid of? Is it the Wasteland? It's probably the Wasteland. Like, we could cheese a game with a Wasteland, but we kind of need a blue card for this as well. I just want to have my mana underneath us and working, because we've got unstuck on that a couple of times, so I'd like to avoid that if possible. Alright, there is a Tundra. So we have Hydroblast and Source to Plowshares. So we've got some things covered here. A Chromox. I don't believe we're going to counterspell this. Shatterskull Smashing. Fable. This is the perfect target. Now, Force of Negation doesn't hit creatures. So there is a potential drawback there. But I wanted to make sure we had a threat. A Murktide is bigger than most of the stuff that they're going to be doing. So I did want to make sure we had a Murktide. If I knew we were doing another one, maybe I would have Force of Negation there. A Broadside Bombardiers. Right, we're just going to immediately plow this guy. I don't want this in my life at all. Get out of here. This also builds up some cards for the old Murktide. We're still a ways off of that, but it will come around quick in a few turns, I'm sure. A Wasteland. Are we taking our opponent off of Ancient Tomb? Or are we taking him off of Den of the Bugbear? We're definitely firing off this Wasteland. Or we could hold this Wasteland, but we don't need 2 Murktides, so I think we are Wastelanding here. We have some choices. I like that the Ancient Tomb hurts them. It's a really tough call. This is a threat in and of itself. I think we're going to go for the Den of the Bugbear. This makes it easier to like crack back with 1 or 2 Murktide swings and just win the game. So next turn, we could be casting a Murktide if our opponent gives us a Force of Negation target and we find the right mana source. A Tundra. Okay, so now we can hard cast the Force of Negation. It's not going to help us against a like Magus of the Moon though. Now we are a little bit pants down over here. Rabble Master. If we'd have done our Hydroblast and Force of Negation the other way around, this wouldn't have been an issue. Find a land or something. A Ponder. That'll do nicely. I like having a Force of Will. Do I like having another Murktide Regent? Not particularly. So we can bury that. Actually, how useful is Force when we already have Force of Negation? There are definitely things that we want to kill though. Alright, so we'll do it like this. So this will lock us into not having... Alright, yeah, so we're not going to have a draw next turn. We're just going to have a land. We don't get to Murktide yet either. Alright, so we're going to take a big hit this turn. But we are a deck full of removal. So I believe that we can kill this Rabblemaster. We also get Surveil land off of our other land that we're going to get. So, right, here's a big hit for 6. Let's crack this. I think we just want the Surveil land here. We've got counter spells for moon effects. We just want to Surveil now in case we can make a slightly bigger Murktide. Plow. Put on top of my library, please. Right, so now we get to play a Murktide. Might as well leave one card in so we're slightly closer to the next Murktide. So next time we can hold up Force of Negation. So we get to gobble up one of these goblins. Are we going to see something like a... there's going to be a big one we're looking at here. Shatskull Smashing, I think. So this is Force of Negation worthy. Wait, X equals 1. They've messed up paying for that one. Have they messed up paying for that one? So how big is this going to be? Is this going to be big enough? So this is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do need to actually counterspell this one. And I guess it's the Force here. Second Murktide would be a pretty good stabilizing effect here. This means that the Rabblemaster doesn't attack this turn. So if we plow, then we have 3 mana, 4, 5, 6. So we're 1 mana shy of casting the other Murktide. I think we're attacking here and then plowing their Rabblemaster. We do need to get this game won. Next turn we can Murktide. At the end of their main phase, we will plow their creature. Just in case something else comes on that we need to kill more. Alright, so we can untap, we can grow our current Murktide and make another one. Canoptex Scarab Swarm. Oh, that scuppers our plan. It does grow our Murktide, but we have to get through all of this nonsense of our opponents. Oh, they exile their own. That is a very interesting one. Right, pending is pretty good here as well. So we could just pending a token, but this could be a thing that answers something that actually just annihilates us. Or it could change the maths that they're running. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we attack now, we take 1, 2, 3, 4 on the crackback. That's half our life total. I still think we need to be aggressive here because our opponent's got loads of things that can just absolutely annihilate us, like the Bombardiers. So if they leave like one guy back to block with this turn, if they just leave the insect token, then we can just pending it and then smash through. But our opponent has some top decks that do kill us here. That is unfortunate for us. Alright, they've gone to turtle mode. Force of Negation. I don't hate having access to that one. Right, we're just going to whittle them down with the 5/5 here. I think they're just going to stick an insect in front of that. We keep the 8/8 back because it's harder for them to Shatskull Smashing that one. Yep, so they've correctly kept this Canoptex Scarab Swarm around because that's the one that we can't pending. We're going to see another Shatskull here. A Fury. Okay. 4 on damage on that. They're just playing it because they want the creature. Alright, so they're doing some maths over there as well. Not a big fan of my opponent doing maths. So, removal, please. A Ponder. I'll take it. That's certainly better than most. Okay, so we've got a Plow. If we Plow this, they gain 1 life, then we swing for lethal. That's pretty good to me. Okay, 8 plus 5 is lethal. Good. I can do some simple maths. Excellent. Don't want to change anything. If they got Canoptex Scarab Swarm, the Pest Control looks a little bit nicer to me. Is that better than a Bowmasters? I think it is, actually. Let's have some Pest Controls. Bowmasters can attack and block, though. That's something to be aware of. And the mana cost on Pest Control is a little restrictive at times, but it can cycle. Do I want Lavinia? Yeah, 2/2 can block relatively well. Alright, let's try this. Like, we came here to play Pest Control. Let's see how good it is in various matchups, right? We have removal. If we can get to our turn, we can't get a plains with this hand. I think we need better. Okay. Power of Lorien Revealed compels me. This Pest Control is probably the one that goes, I would say. So we have a little bit of defense for their first big scary thing. They mull to 6, so maybe they're going to be all in on one thing. A little bit. Look at them trying to tempt me into Wasteland in them. It is tempting if I draw a land here. We did not draw a land. Okay. Play out our Wasteland. We do have to cycle this Lorien Revealed, unfortunately. I don't think we can play that loose. A Blood Moon. We do not beat Blood Moon. So this goes away, and I think it's a Brainstorm. We need to get a threat in play soon. Cycle this. I don't think we're beating Blood Moon, so I think we're supposed to get the Tundra here. Turn on our things. Alright. You can bet I'm going to Wasteland their land. So this way they play a land, they get 1 spell. Chalice of the Void, X equals 1. Consider this Brainstorm. We could Force of Will this and then Wasteland our opponent. Or we could just bury the cards that don't do anything. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not quite enough. Maybe we are. But if we're Force of Willing this, what are we doing with the rest of our time? I think we are supposed to Force of Will this. I'm not super happy about it. Actually, no. We don't need to Force of Will this. I believe. I think we should have buried the Swords of Plowshares if we're doing this line, though. Am I hitting this City of Traitors and just trying to stop our opponent from getting anywhere? Yes, I think I am. Not a big fan of Wasteland and the City of Traitors, but this means our opponent isn't casting anything on their next turn, which means we get to then play a Murktide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so we get the basic in here now. Might as well. Then we can use this to fetch a Surveil land down the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we've got a threat. If we can find a Pest Control, we can get rid of this and turn our Plow back on. If we find a blue card, we can turn our Force of Will on and sit behind this. If we find a Wasteland, we can ruin our opponent's day a little bit more. The way our opponent didn't play a land after their Chalice as well before kind of made me think they might not have another one. Right, Simon Spirit Guide. An unlicensed hearse. Okay. That's fine for now. If they start removing stuff from our graveyard, it will pump our Murktide. Right, so we can go and get our Surveil land in a minute. Let's crack for 6. We ended up drawing both the cards off the Brainstorm earlier anyway. Okay, let's crack this. Scalding Tarn. Give me that Undercity Sewers. Serenity. I will have this one, please. Let's do a swing. Alright, so this will do a lot of work against our opponent's board and turn our plows back on. And once we got our plows back on, I'm not that worried. I'm not sure they're going to have much in the way of removal for our creature. The one problem that we could face is something like Blood Moon into some other creatures. But nope, our opponent's giving it up. Alright, we are now cruising, aren't we? We are 4-1. It's taken a while, but we're 4-0, and we've got 1 round left to go. So let's play our trophy match. Alright, welcome to the trophy match here. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully my brain cells can hold on for the rest of this one. But I know enough to know to mulligan this one. Ponder's good. Bowmaster's good. Another land here. We'll keep all of these things. I think we're probably... It's either the Bowmasters or the Brainstorm that ships here. I'm going to go with the Brainstorm. So we're keeping 2 threats and 2 cantrips, one of them being Lorien Revealed. That seems reasonable to me. My opponent has mulligan to 5. That fills me with some amount of trepidation. Alright, so we're pondering looking for some kind of counterspell, I think. Force of Will or a Daze. None of these do those things. What deck would mulligan like this and play a mountain? I'm thinking Painter, I'm thinking Mono Red Prison. I don't think this is where we want to be. I think we're going to go any order and shuffle. Alright, Murktide, we drew one of them anyway. I was looking for a Force of Will or a Daze, ideally. Like, the Plow is a nice enough one to have. But I don't really want to draw through the other cards either. I guess we could Lorien Revealed to shuffle them. Okay, so it is Painter. We're going to see in the graveyard. A Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Okay, they're going to Value Town. Not a bad place to be, the old Value Town. I guess we'll play out this Plains. And I hope that we can do something with our Bowmasters. Like, if they draw a bunch of cards, we can just machine gun down their board. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's a pretty good one. Our opponent probably won't attack into a Bowmasters here. I think we're still going to fire off a Bowmasters here. This will make our opponent not want to use their Fable of the Mirror Breaker here. Which means we can use our mana for other things. I don't think we're looking at Wastelanding right now. I think pondering into some kind of removal spell is pretty good. Pest Control. That will take out the Shaman token and any treasures. It has lands, which is something that we're kind of interested in drawing right now. If we fire it off immediately, we would lose our Orc Army token. Do we care about that? Could just get this land for Bowmaster purposes. I think that's what we're probably doing, isn't it? So we've got another Bowmasters. We could just like slam a couple of Lorien Revealed and try and play a Murktide, but I think we have to interact with our opponent. So I guess the hope is that they kill our Bowmasters and try and Dragon Engine or something, and then we get to come back with a bunch of stuff. We've already beaten this matchup earlier today, and I do believe that we have a pretty good selection of tools to win this matchup. Right, so they are hitting our Bowmasters. Right, I'll crack this. So we need to get a black source if we want to do this play. We have to do this before because they choose when they do it. So black and 1. If we put 1 damage on their engineer, they basically don't get to draw any cards with Fable. So basically saying, we don't want you to improve your hand here. If it's that important to you to get this selection, I'll take this block. I'm somewhat concerned about something like a Chaos Defiler. Now, it's going to be in our opponent's deck if they got a bad lands in. That can certainly mess up any of our things. Now, they're obviously prioritizing getting the treasure token over keeping their guy alive. So it feels like that's something they could be working towards. A little Scarecrow friend. What colour are you going to name? Just a standard classic blue. Let's see what we draw. A Brainstorm. I am in the market for moving some cards around here. Pest Control isn't that great, to be honest with you. It's fine. I think we're probably going to ship a Lorien Revealed and the Wasteland. I guess we want that if Fenerza Saga pops off, and that's the thing that happens later. I think Spell Pierce has outlived its usefulness. So we haven't played a land yet this turn, so we can cycle this Lorien Revealed to change the top card of our deck. We can get ourselves a Tundra here. Then we can play out Murktide and at least be threatening to clap back for some damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, 7/7 for 2 mana. Not too shabby. Now the problem we have is our opponent is going to have Fail the Mirror Breaker very soon. And what that can do is can copy the Engineer and give them the Grindstone in their graveyard. So we're going to need to find an answer to one of their creatures. At least the Bowmaster stops them doing anything with their Engineer right now because they can't engineer in the engine. We're going to see... I think that green mana isn't actually for green mana. Oh, it is. A Morlock. Oh, this is pretty good. So they're going to fight our Bowmasters. Yeah, that's pretty saucy. So now they can start Dragon Engineering. Okay, we need to have a good turn. Surprised to see the Morlock there. Maybe they're running like a breakout list. That makes sense. Seaman Spirit Guide has been pitched. Here comes the Dragon Engine. A whole new grip for our opponent. That's so strong. This Pest Control not lining up amazingly with what's in play right now. Commercial District, very good as well. Putting card on top. Yikes. I don't feel like we're going to have a great time here. Pest Control, what are you doing? You are probably being cycled. No, you just don't cut it right now. We need some help. Pending. That is certainly something. So we can take out the Engineer. We play the Wasteland, so we don't get to take out the Reflection. So I think we're just taking out the Engineer now. Kind of what we played into there. We should have thought a little bit more about what land we're playing. Am I more worried about green mana or black mana from our opponent? I think black mana is scarier because that's Chaos Defiler. How much damage does our opponent clap with here? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's a lot of damage. I think we have to hold back on blocks here, which doesn't feel good. Right, Scalding Tarn. So they have access to black mana potentially again. Engineer. Okay. So they can copy this with the Reflection. They can do that in our end steps. They get loads of ability to just engineer their way to victory. Maybe we can snag something with the Bowmasters. But I think they're just going to get the Grindstone here. And then end of turn, they can Reflection the Engineer, untap, have 2 active Engineers. And Snaring Bridge. Interesting. I guess they don't need that. And they just have this as an emergency bridge. Interesting. Right, they're cracking their Scalding Tarn. What are they looking for? They might be playing around a Stifle. But that's probably not the trigger that we would Stifle in this board. They're doing this now. Curious. This has got to find the Grindstone this time. There it is. They're putting in the bridge. So we don't have any choice about attacking or not now. So that's kind of nice in a way that we don't have to think about that. We've got a Surveil land, so it's worth playing this out and surveilling. We have to hope our Orcish Bowmasters does something on this board. I do not believe it will. Our opponent has to make a mistake for that. And I don't know why they would make that mistake. I think they just want to get their business going. If they're really worried about removal, they should Reflection their Goblin Engineer before they tap their Goblin Engineer. Alright, let's go and get our Surveil land. What can it find us? I suppose we could have got the... I don't think Pending is enough here, though. A Daze, that's certainly not the one. It's good to show that to our opponent because they're probably boarding it out, but then they'll see that as a thing that we have, so they might play around it. I guess we're miracling this. Doesn't feel like we're attacking anytime soon. Alright, maybe they'll put a Dragon Engine in and give us some triggers and we can ping some Reflection and stuff down. I don't see why they would do that when they just have the Wind Zone up here. We'll just engineer find them. Bray's Apprentice, if they've got one. Bray's Apprentice allows them to go up in artifact count every time they do stuff. Okay. Solar Lantern. So I imagine we're going to see the Ensnaring Bridge become a Grindstone. And then in their turn, they're going to activate the Grindstone and turn it into a Painter. Doing a grind. Alright, that's the end of that chapter. But I think we get much better post-board. Snuff Out is excellent. Pest Control is reasonable here. Lavinia is kind of okay. Serenity is very good. Pending is very good. Hydroblast very good. Spellbomb's pretty fine. Surgical. I don't want to just play into all these Pyroblasts. We just want to kill all their things. That's the way that we're playing this one. Not big into Spell Piercers here. Can't quite remember how we boarded last time. I think we took the Dazes out. I think that's what we did. I think Dazes are fine though. I think just having removal is better here. Right, we're going to go in like this. Alright, so we got to turn this 0-1 around to a 2-1 if we want that sweet, sweet trophy. Ponders, Plows, answer to Saga. I think we keep this one. Even fetch a basic island if we wanted to. That makes Pest Control harder to cast. We have Pest Control mana available anyway. And that just stops the potential from a Magus of the Moon that they could have. Right, let's go for this Ponder. No other fetch land is kind of annoying, but I'll take removal. They haven't seen the Snuff Out, so they're unlikely to name black with Painter either. We're basically just like a black-white control deck with cantrips and Murktides at this point. There is a welder. So we play this out. I think we snuff this guy out now. We know there's a land on top. I think we may as well just wait. We can do like a emergency brainstorm if we need to. We obviously had to play the Underground Sea to get our Snuff Out to be free. Alright, so we've got a Wasteland for that one. Friend. This is kind of awkward due to the mana we have. We don't get to plow this and Saga here. And to kill their Saga. That is annoying for sure. I think we're going to cast this Ponder first. I like the Pending. Don't really want the Lorien Revealed at the moment. Pick the land though. And this. No. So we can Pending this. I think we should Pending this. I think that's the quickest route to us getting absolutely blasted. Next turn we can Wasteland them. So they don't get the tutor. So play out this Wasteland. They're going to make a 1-1. That's a-okay with me. Now we could Brainstorm looking for an Orcish Bowmasters, but I don't think that's where I'm at right now. We've got Lorien Revealed on top of our library, which I don't mind drawing. So I think we can Brainstorm in the end step to access more mana on our turn. But we'll see what this turn brings. A Grindstone, you say? Okay. We don't have any counters to Brainstorm into for that, so we're just going to let that one happen. This gets them a little bit more damage. Are we supposed to Brainstorm on our turn now so we look at more cards? I think we are. Let's cast this Brainstorm. It's a pretty good Pyroblast target if they want it. Okay, so we have a Pending we can fire off, and then we can draw this next turn. So we'll probably put this Tundra on top. Well, we want the Tundra anyway, right? So maybe we're just putting this Flooded Strand. No, it should be the Scalding Tarn. That's the west of it. And then we put this on top. We play this. We get to Pending this for one. And then next turn we get to make our Triumph of St. Katherine. We've got a removal spell for, you know, anything spooky they have, like Engineers or Painters. Right, there's a Painter. You gonna name blue? Yeah, I'm gonna name blue. So our opponent definitely has the potential to Pyroblast us back here. Alright, let's get this Triumph going. Alright, so they are blasting this. So we get an incredible exchange here. Because we plow this, and then the red elemental blast fizzles on our Triumph of St. Katherine, unless they have Soothing Spirit Guide plus another red blast. Oof, that is quite the exchange. Alright, so we can go and get our Surveil land next turn, and then we can just hardcast Lorien Revealed and gas back up. And our opponent is 2 combo pieces away from comboing us. So I think taking a turn off to draw 3 is pretty good. Fable Ensnaring Bridge. Well, we have answers to that. We could just go and get this Pending right now, if that's what this is about. Do I want the Pending right now? Or do I just want to draw a bunch of cards? I think I just want to draw a bunch of cards. Let's just get the Sewers. Sure, I guess. I mean, just draw more cards, then draw more cards. I'm trying to find a Wasteland by doing this. If we find any other fetch land, we can just go and get that Pending back. Lotus Petal, sure. We've also got things like Serenity in our deck, which is obviously bananas here. Surging Extraction, I don't hate that as an option for us. I'm going to cast this. We're going to leave up Tundra. Just gas back up again. So if we want to play the Bowmasters, we need to play out this Underground Sea. But this lets us pending next turn, which I think is probably for the best. We do have one Underground Sea left, I think, so we can just go and get that if we desperately need a Bowmasters for something. I don't believe our opponent is going to Pithing Needle our Flooded Strand here. If they want to do that, that's fine by me. Right, they're floating some mana. Soul Guide Lantern. Right, so we don't get to get that pending back now. That is a little bit awkward for us. So we could try and force them to crack the Soul Guide Lantern right now. Do you reckon that's worth doing, or should we hold this for a Brainstorm? We could get some Bowmasters going, but that's not really going to help here. We just untap and draw. Another Bowmasters. Okay. Maybe we were supposed to get the pending back in response to that Soul Guide into response to that Saga trigger. But I haven't got a Grindstone, so we're pretty close to just killing this construct with Bowmaster pings. Just ping our opponent down. We guess we might as well. It's a funny old game sometimes. Let's play out another Bowmasters. I think we'll play out this Regent as well now. Let's get rid of one of these. We'll get rid of one of these. Get rid of some Ponders and Snuff Out. So now if they crack the Soul Guide Lantern, it does make our guy huge. Okay, we just need to find an answer for this this bridge. And we can win the game. We can cast something like a Pest Control, and then in response we can crack this when they crack that. Serenity. This is exactly the sort of card that I've been looking for. Right, I think we're going to see one of these Surveil lands here off this fetch land. There it is. Alright, we got the game. We're going to game 3. Okay. I think I'm okay with what we've got here. Let's just jam again. Whew. This is for the trophy. We've had to do an awful lot of work to get to this point. This deck has not been a quick win, that's for sure. But it's been very rewarding to play so far. Serenity is good, Plow is good. Dragon Loch, not so much, but we'll keep this. There is a question as to whether or not we are interested in getting a basic. I don't think we can, given the texture of our hand with needing to cast Ponder, Serenity, Plow. If we get something like a Plains, then we're never casting this Drown the Loch. Alright, let's Ponder here. Does that change things? I can play around Blood Moon if I want to. The Drown in the Loch is going to be off if we fetch basics here. I don't think we're fetching basics. I think we're just getting a Tundra. Now we've shown basics in our deck. Our opponent probably is not on that whole thing. Bowmasters is reasonable. Murktide Regents are a bit much, but we do want one at some point. So if we say no to this. Okay, so we've got Sagas answered. We've got Bowmaster, and we can follow up with a Murktide at some point. We're probably looking to fetch away the second Murktide. And that'll give us access to Drown in the Loch, or we can just play a Serenity. All sorts of things. Alright. They left a card on top with their Commercial District. We are slightly behind on clock here, so we do need to keep that in mind. Because this game can certainly drag out. And there's a Saga. Okay, alright. A Goblin Engineer. Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Do we let our opponent bring that back and then just Bowmasters down their board? That's very tempting. So the other option here is to Wasteland and Plow their guy. That's probably the safer play here. Alright. If our opponent doesn't have another land drop, we can just send them right to the dirt. Okay, they've got another Saga. Have they got another Engineer? They do not. I will hit this. We have had to draw this extra Murktide. Right, a Mountain. They didn't play anything with 2 mana last turn. I don't think they're going to this turn. I believe this is the turn we play the Murktide. They can Pyroblast this. They definitely have Pyroblast in their deck. I don't believe our opponent's going to kill us this turn, so we get to untap and do some stuff. Okay, not quite Metalcraft yet, but close. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, sure. This is an excellent spot to play this Serenity, or to play this Bowmasters. We don't get to play both, so we have to make a choice here. I think we attack with the Murktide, and then Bowmasters in our opponent's upkeep, and we ping the Shaman once, so if they want to draw a single card, they'll lose their Shaman. Right, so we ping their Shaman for 1. Any selection will kill their Shaman. Like, yes, it does miss out on points of damage, but if we're just clocking for 5, it doesn't matter. And it is more important to stop them getting the cards they want at this point. Next turn, we can, if we draw a land, we can drop the Serenity and hold up Drown in the Loch potentially, which would be absolutely backbreaking for our opponent. I think that will be enough to win the game potentially. But we'll see. This game can certainly pan out in various ways. Painter is a deck that you should never count out. Another Fable. Yikes. Well, Serenity is pretty good at cleaning these up. They're going to have these Sherman tokens. I will happily block that guy, give him the chance. I'd like to draw a land, please. Didn't draw a land. We could Pest Control and just get rid of a bunch of their stuff. If we Pest Control, we don't get to hold up anything else. But that does set our opponent back a fair ways. I think it's Pest Control this turn. You came here to see Pest Control, didn't you? So that does cost us our token. Am I bothered about costing ourselves a token? We take out 3 permanents of our opponents. The other option is to play the Serenity. But our opponent's going to have so much mana next turn that they could probably do the full combo. So I think we need to get Pest Control in. So this will be a 3 for 1. Obviously these are like half a card. Right, so we get to bash for 6 here. And then next turn we can jam a Serenity. Again, if we can draw the land for the Drown and Loch, that'd be really nice. Otherwise we're probably holding up Drown and Plow. Another Fable. Okay. We'd love to draw a land. Did not draw a land. We have another Pest Control. I think we just hold up the Plow and the Drown. I think we Plow this guy now. And then we have Drown for anything they have. Drown is susceptible to Pyroblast, but they kind of need to kill our Murktide as well. We can play the Murktide to be lethal next turn by removing cards from our graveyard with the Murktide in our hand. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. 1, 2. They don't have the mana they need. So we're in a bit of a weird situation here. Because we could try and go for it, but that goes shields down on a bunch of stuff. So I think we have to see what our opponent plays. A Morlock, where X is 3. So what does this actually do? This fights our Bowmasters. I think we allow this. Okay, they're fighting our Murktide Regent. We will destroy this Morlock. Land. Actually, we don't even care about the land now. We're just making the Murktide, I think, here. Our Bowmasters. Okay, that's even better. Doesn't explode. We can wait to see if they Pyroblast our creature or not. If they don't, we just Bowmasters them down for the final point. Is that the trophy? This might be the hardest one, or one of the hardest one trophies. I think this was also the week that I had the Jund trophy. All right. Oh, we got there. Absolute slog of a league. So these are our matches. This took us 3.5 hours to record, so bear with me. 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-0. We really had to slog for it, but we did get the trophy. So let's get these cards back actually on the screen, shall we? Okay, so this deck felt pretty good. I think Pest Control is such a good card right now. I think the Spell Pierce is a pretty flexible slot that you could definitely tinker with. Same with the Drown and a Loch. I think these 3 spells could be something else. Let's move these endings out of the way. So these 3 could be anything really, and I don't think it matters. We did stumble over our mana a little bit to cast the Pest Control, which is something that is a little bit concerning. If you ever fetch like a basic island at any point, which is the most likely basic you'll fetch, is that true? You're probably most likely to fetch the plains because you have the Lorien Revealed, which can go and get the islands later. But your early things like cantrips are going to be blue. So maybe you're fetching the island first. Maybe you're fetching the plains. If you ever fetch the island, you can't cast Pest Control until at least turn 3. Wasteland doesn't help cast it. So there's definitely some real costs. But as we saw, sometimes we're just going to cycle and it'll be fine. And even though we did get jammed up, we managed to come back and just, smash all the people today, which was lovely. Any thoughts on the sideboard? Not particularly. I think the Serenity was pretty good. We didn't play against the matchup, so we wanted the Doorkeeper Thrull. Triumph of St. Katherine is fine. Like, the lifelink definitely helped us out. This felt like a reasonable place to play it. This deck kind of plays a little bit like Bug Control, where you're just kind of dealing with your opponent's things. But we don't have as many ways of like gassing back up because we're not playing the Beanstalks. But we do have more control-y tools, I think. So it's a case of control them and then try and Lorien Revealed. But we also have a pretty strong tempo plan with things like Triumph of St. Katherine. Obviously, I really enjoyed playing this one, as you could probably tell from the games. It was a lot of work, a lot of interaction, which is exactly what you want from a game of Legacy. So pretty happy with how this one went. And I believe this is going to be a thing that you should be looking out for in the Legacy format. It feels very much like a real deck. It has a bunch of good tools, like just getting to play white removal alone puts you in such good stead. Although as a Turbo Depths player, I do not like the look of playing against this deck. It looks pretty horrible for all us Turbo Depths people, because white removal is good, Wasteland's good, counter spells with crop rotation is good, but I digress. This deck is definitely fun. You should have it on your radar. Is this the best shelf for Pest Control? I don't know. People are going to be experimenting with it with a lot. It is just a very powerful card. We did sometimes kill our own Bowmasters, but always we were getting better value off of killing our opponent's things, and that's fine. I think maybe there's some kind of more heavy control build that runs Snapcasters and stuff, so kind of like the Esper version of the Grixis control decks that you see these days. So that would be something that I keep my eyes out for as well. But pretty happy with how the deck performed. Loved all the choices you get to make with it. And yeah, keep this on your radar. This deck is great. I'm very tired now. It's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning for me. So thank you for sticking with me on this one. I really do appreciate it. I believe this is also the last video I'm recording with Cardholder as my sponsor. So I'd just like to say once again, thank you so much for sponsoring me. It really has helped all my content. If you need some singles online or you want to do some renting of cards, I definitely recommend Cardholder. And the reason they're no longer sponsoring me is because I'm moving on to the Daybreak Content Creators Program. So I'm just going to have a fully unlocked account to play whatever I want pretty much. So that's very exciting. And I believe that will start tomorrow for me. All right. With that said and done, once again, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to help me out. And just, keep playing and watching Legacy. It really is the best Magic it can get. Okay, goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbo Depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbo Depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.